801 Observers from Beyond Part 2. What shocked them the most was that her opponent was a peak-level ancient realm expert. Arliss reading Omicron N Beta OX Nouvelle. So how was this person managing to fight her on equal footing? How heaven-defying was this? Whoa, this is unbelievable. An ancient realm expert fighting with a sealed immortal realm expert. This has to be a first. The most shocking thing is that he can actually fight evenly with her. Everyone's jaws dropped in shock, and they even suspected that what they were seeing was fake. It's actually that guy, a cultivator said in surprise when he saw Yi Zan's figure. Hearing this, someone immediately asked, "Friend, do you know who this person is?" The cultivator immediately replied in a strange tone, "I've seen this person in the ancient tomb before. His name is Yi Zan, and he's from the East Continent's Great Wilderness Divine Sect." Great Wilderness Divine Sect. Everyone was stunned. Was the Great Wilderness Divine Sect not in the Heaven Continent? Why was there a Great Wilderness Divine Sect in the East Continent? At this moment, people from the other continent were discussing this matter. Many people were puzzled. They did not understand why this person was so powerful. The cultivator then continued, "I don't know any more details, as I only heard about what happened further inside the ancient tomb from someone else. That person told me that there was an extremely powerful Supreme Realm expert from the East Continent who challenged the experts from the various continents and finally obtained the immortal heavenly treasures. Even the saint of the Heavenly Wind Divine Sect, O Yunhai, suffered a great loss at his hands." Hearing this, everyone's jaws dropped, as they memorized Yi Zan's name. Given how dazzling this person's achievements were, if he survived this battle, his future and potential were limitless. On the East Continent, after Meng Yu started to use her sword, the atmosphere had reached its climax. Yi Zan could clearly sense that his god's sword was even trembling slightly, as it felt like a hunter seeing its prey. The god's sword in Yi Zan's hand had outstanding battle achievements, and had destroyed many peerless swords in the past. Unfortunately, it had been damaged during some ancient war, which tarnished its original brilliance. Now that it had encountered a weapon of the same level, the god's sword seemed to be overjoyed. Even the tip of the sword was trembling slightly, and started to release a tremendous amount of power. After sensing the powerful sword aura released by Meng Yu, Yi Zan raised his right hand, and a red light shone forth from his forehead. Suddenly, a terrifying sword aura erupted from the god's sword. Everyone's hearts trembled. This sword aura was far more terrifying than anything they had ever felt before. What is the name of this move? The moment Yi Zan brandished the god's sword, waves of sorrowful emotions seemed to sweep across the land. Even Meng Yu's emotions were disturbed, causing her to feel a little absent-minded. Ever since she was born, only when Taoist Yi Feng drew his sword and stabbed her had she felt such sadness. However, Yi Zan's sword move caused her to experience those emotions once again. Why was this move so peculiar? Yi Zan lowered his head and pondered for a moment before replying, "This move is called Wither and Flourish. When I was concentrating on cultivating in seclusion to comprehend the sword Tao, I was suddenly inspired, and thus this sword move was born." After hearing this, Meng Yu's body trembled and she fell into a daze. Wither and Flourish. Just hearing this name made her feel as if she had just woken up from a dream. It could be seen from this how deep the sword Tao insights contained within this move were. Meng Yu had no choice but to acknowledge Yi Zan's strength. "You are indeed very powerful. Since ancient times, you are probably the only cultivator with such great talent in the sword Tao. If you are allowed to continue growing, perhaps in the near future, you will be able to use the sword Tao of the sword to become a sealed immortal realm expert. Unfortunately, it seems that you will have to die here today." As soon as she finished speaking, Meng Yu's expression instantly turned cold. She held the demonic sword in her hand and unleashed its fiendish aura. In the blink of an eye, the entire sky turned gray as she focused its full force on Yi Zan. Poochie. Under the effect of this focused aura, Yi Zan immediately vomited blood. After all, they were indeed separated by a major cultivation realm. However, this would not be enough to defeat him. He consumed a pill without hesitation and immediately recovered. At this moment, Yi Zan's eyes had also turned abnormally cold. He knew very well how much strength he could unleash. The great demoness in front of him was like a mountain peak, standing in front of Yi Zan. Whether or not his capabilities would allow him to split apart this mountain would depend on the next sword move. "Great demoness Meng Yu, have a good look at how powerful my technique is." As soon as he finished speaking, Yi Zan's figure instantly disappeared. When he reappeared, he was already 10,000 meters in the sky. This move, Wither and Flourish, was a sword move that Yizan had created when he was in seclusion by combining his sword Dao insights with the Flora sword technique. The entire world turned black and white at this moment. In this monotonous world, a bewitching red flower suddenly emerged, looking extremely strange and terrifying. Moments later, the entire world shook violently, but the red flower still floated steadily in the sky. Seeing such a shocking scene, everyone's faces turned pale. They did not know what words to use to describe it. 802 Mutual Destruction. The red flower instantly released wisps of light, enveloping the entire East continent. Arlise reading Omicron N Beta OX Nouvelle. So M. At this moment, Meng Yu suddenly felt a strong sense of sadness rising from within her heart. Cannot. As she muttered to herself, Meng Yu even slapped herself twice to wake herself up. However, by the time she came to her senses, Yizan was already in front of her, God's sword in hand. This sword move could be considered Yizan's most powerful attack. The God's sword streaked across the sky, tearing space apart. Seeing this, Meng Yu's expression turned cold. She immediately shouted, "Get lost." At the last moment, she raised the sword in her hand and released the full power of a sealed immortal realm expert, clashing against Yizan's attack, and releasing dazzling light that blinded everyone. When the light dissipated, everyone saw Yizan fall from the sky and felt despaired. In the end, we still lost, Aolei said with a pale face. Originally, Yizan was evenly matched with Meng Yu. However, after she took out this demonic sword, the balance shifted in Meng Yu's favor. Even though Yizan's rainbow robe was also very powerful, the cultivation level difference of a major realm was not so easy to make up for. Meng Yu's demonic sword pierced Yizan's chest, and the scene fell silent. Even on the other side of the barrier, the group of experts watching maintained their silence at the same time. After a long time, someone finally spoke. Sigh, how can an ant topple an elephant? He really overestimated himself. With the strength of an ancient realm expert, there was no chance at victory. A white-haired old man sighed and turned around to leave. However, at this moment, another person spoke. You call this overestimating himself? Don't you have any respect for him? Everyone knows that sealed immortal realm experts are existences that ancient realm experts shouldn't provoke. However, he still dared to go up against her for the sake of the East continent. Shouldn't you show him some respect? People started arguing with each other. After this battle, perhaps the East continent would also be destroyed. When they saw Yizan's figure fall to the ground, everyone felt that the great demoness had won. However, at this moment, a sound was heard, instantly breaking the silence. Poochie. At this moment, Meng Yu also spat out a mouthful of blood. Then, her body fell from the sky as well. This scene made everyone's jaws drop. What exactly is going on? Is there going to be a shocking turn of events? The expressions of the people on Sky Mountain changed drastically. They stared at the sky like children and saw a drop of blood slowly fall from the bewitching red flower. In the blink of an eye, this drop of blood transformed into an extremely powerful sword beam that instantly pierced Meng Yu's body. Even Meng Yu herself did not expect that this red flower contained such a powerful trump card. No, teacher. After shouting, Zhu Yuyu tried to rush toward her teacher to wake him up. Yuelin was crying as well, but she hugged Zhu Yuyu tightly and did not allow her to go. After all, there were still remnants of Meng Yu's and Yizan's power nearby. If Zhu Yuyu really rushed over, she would probably die. Who could have predicted that this battle would end like this? Both sides had lost their lives. Up in the sky, Taoist Yifeng was also paying attention to this scene, but he did not display any emotions. In fact, his expression was a little cold. It was as if Yizan's death had nothing to do with him. Seeing his abnormal behavior, Aolei seemed to have figured something out and suddenly became excited. Could it be that junior brother Yi is still alive? Amidst his shock, Aolei suddenly remembered that Yizan had gone to find Taoist Master Yifeng not long ago in order to find a way to kill Meng Yu. In this case, the two of them must have discussed this beforehand. If Taoist Yifeng's expression was so calm, he must have had a backup plan. As expected, after a while, thunder suddenly rumbled in the sky. Looking over, he saw Meng Yu, who had fallen to the ground, suddenly stand up. She was not dead. Meng Yu. Everyone's faces were filled with shock. The sword beam that Yizan unleashed actually did not kill her. It must be because of the immortal bones, Aolei said coldly. Although Meng Yu had already stood up, her face was pale and weak. After all, she had just been reborn from the immortal bones. Beastard, you actually made me suffer death for no reason, Meng Yu gritted her teeth as she spoke. Seeing that Yizan had also fallen to the ground in the distance, she even thought of going over and picking Yizan up and beating him up again to vent her anger. However, at this moment, the red flower in the sky released a ray of light again, shining on Yizan's body. Moments later, Yizan opened his eyes, patted the soil off his body, and stood up as well. This, Meng Yu was dumbfounded. She could not believe what she was seeing. You're still alive. Meng Yu's expression changed drastically. Her attack had indeed completely severed Yizan's life force, but why was he still alive and well? Could it be that he also had immortal bones? Seeing her confused expression, the corners of Yizan's mouth curled up slightly, but he did not answer. Raising his left hand slightly, the red flower floating in the sky instantly descended into Yizan's palm, instantly returning him to his peak condition. 803 Round 2 Part 1. Are you very shocked? Arliss reading Omicron N Beta OX Nouvelle. So why was he still alive? Well, before the two of them started fighting, Yizan had kept an immortal grade blood recovery pill in his mouth. The moment before he died, Yizan instantly consumed the pill, which had the effect of reviving the dead if taken within a certain span of time. In comparison, Meng Yu had used her immortal bones to resurrect herself. Not long ago, Yizan had discussed the wonders of the immortal bones with Taoist Yifeng, and the latter had also revealed a crucial piece of information. After Meng Yu came back to life, she would be very weak for a certain duration. He had risked his life to do all this just to weaken Meng Yu. If Meng Yu became weaker, he would have more confidence to deal with her, and might not even need Taoist Yifeng to self-destruct his immortal bones again. This was indeed the best way, but it was fraught with risks. Furthermore, there was no guarantee that he could beat her even after she was weakened. Therefore, it was a huge gamble. Fortunately, Yizan succeeded. When she saw Yizan's smiling face, Meng Yu's expression instantly turned cold. She turned around and looked at Taoist Yifeng in the sky. Did you plan this? She could not believe it. She could not bear to do anything to Taoist Yifeng, but he actually cooperated with others to plot against her. Hearing her question, Taoist Yifeng replied indifferently, yes. After hearing this answer, Meng Yu's mind nearly exploded. She asked in disbelief, could it be that you only have hatred for me in your heart? In order to completely kill me, you even told others about the flaws of the immortal bones. Since ancient times, the number of people who possessed immortal bones could be counted on one hand. No one knew where their flaws were. Only those with immortal bones would understand their flaws, but who would be so stupid as to tell others about it? However, Taoist Yifeng had done exactly this. Seeing her like this, Taoist Yifeng felt his heartstrings being tugged. However, when he remembered that tens of thousands of people from the Great Wilderness Divine Sect had been killed by her and that he had been deceived by her, his gaze gradually became firm. Meng Yu, there is only enmity between us. As soon as he finished speaking, Meng Yu felt powerless and almost fell to the ground. She simply could not believe that these words had actually come from Taoist Yifeng's mouth. It was as if Taoist Yifeng had drawn a knife and stabbed it into her heart, causing her to feel immense pain. Every time Taoist Yifeng thought of Tianzan, he would feel extremely sorrowful. After all, to him, Tianzan was his father, teacher, and friend. Since he was young, Tianzan had raised him and taught him cultivation techniques. However, after that battle, not only did she kill the sect master, but even severely injured Tianzan, which eventually led to the latter's demise. If he could easily let go of such a grudge, would he be able to face the sect members that died in the afterlife? Meng Yu was crying as she fixed her eyes on Yifeng. She wanted to say something, but she could not. It had already happened, and she could not explain herself. Although she had indeed killed many members of the Great Wilderness Divine Sect, the reason why she used Yifeng's bloodline to ascend to the sealed immortal realm was to pay for her mistakes. Even so, Yifeng did not care about this at all. What he truly cared about were still his sect members. Ha ha, Meng Yu laughed pitifully, and her expression gradually became abnormally ferocious. At that moment, Yizan frowned slightly because he could already sense that Meng Yu's aura had been rising continuously. Extremely powerful energy fluctuations swept in all directions. While she was laughing crazily, she waved her right hand slightly and summoned her demonic sword. She pointed it at them from afar and said, "Bring it on. When have I ever been afraid? At that time, tens of thousands of people from your sect couldn't kill me, and today will be the same." Meng Yu's aura became even more powerful after she spoke, causing Yifeng's expression to change drastically. He activated his reincarnation Dao without hesitation. After exchanging glances with Yi Zan, he directly attacked. Great Demoness, today, you must pay for what you did in the past. Yi Zan was already burning with anger. He attacked with his two divine swords at the same time. Taoist Yi Feng was using his reincarnation Dao to support Yi Zan from a short distance away, constantly interfering with Meng Yu's attacks. The only good thing was that Meng Yu had just been resurrected, so her condition was not at its peak. In the first clash, the three of them were evenly matched. More and more people rushed to watch from the other continent. Without exception, they all had shocked expressions. Oh my god, isn't this battle too terrifying? Two ancient realm experts challenging a sealed immortal realm expert. Such a battle is extremely rare. I'm lucky enough to witness it today. Yi Zan held two swords in his hands. Each of his moves were extremely sharp and decisive as he exchanged hundreds of blows with Meng Yu. Everyone was spellbound by his sword Dao. As the battle went on, the world barrier constantly shook. Let's retreat quickly. The barrier will probably shatter very soon. After being reminded, everyone realized that spiderweb-like cracks had already appeared on the barrier. If things continued to progress like this, the day the continents would be unified would be hastened. Boom. With a loud bang, Yi Zan slashed his swords toward Meng Yu vigorously. 804 Round 2 Part 2. Great Witch, this sword move is on behalf of the people you killed from the Great Wilderness Divine Sect. Arliss reading Omicron N Beta OX Nouvelle. So M. As soon as he finished speaking, powerful energy fluctuations swept out as the god's sword clashed with Meng Yu's demonic sword, which caused shockwaves and explosions. Both of them took a few steps back, but Yi Zan did not stop at all. He raised his sword and slashed his sword at Meng Yu again. This sword move is for my teacher, Tian Zan. As soon as he finished speaking, Yi Zan used his Flora sword technique and attacked with all his might. Poochie. After blocking this sword move, Meng Yu spat out blood. Her body trembled and she took a few steps back. Yi Zan pursued her and used the endless lightning technique, causing dark clouds to gather, and thunder rumbled across the sky. This sword move is for the people you killed in this world. Die. After saying this coldly, Yi Zan instantly flew 10,000 meters into the sky. He held the god's sword with both hands and unleashed an unstoppable slash. At this moment, Meng Yu's face was pale and powerless. She could only stare blankly at Yi Zan as she blocked the attack. After another explosion, Meng Yu spat out a few mouthfuls of blood and became even more dazed. No one had expected that Yi Zan, who was a major cultivation realm lower than her, could push her to this extent. Oh my god, this is really too shocking. This battle is definitely the most exciting battle I have ever seen in my life. My hands are getting itchy. I wanna spar with someone. This person's potential is simply unimaginable. Even in our continent, there are very few geniuses who can compare. This person will soon reach the sealed immortal realm after this. Everyone was sighing with admiration. Yi Zan had now become famous in the other continent as well. Meng Yu was already angry from embarrassment as she watched Yi Zan unleash attack after attack at her. She had never experienced such humiliation until today. She vowed that between Yi Zan and herself, only one of them could survive today. In this world, she would never allow anyone stronger than her to exist. Have you had enough fun? Now it's time for me to make a move. After saying this, Meng Yu instantly mobilized her spiritual power and prepared to attack. However, at this moment, Taoist Yi Feng landed a palm strike on her back, causing her to stumble backwards. Honestly, if it was not their previous scheme to weaken her, they would not have stood a chance. Meng Yu could no longer restrain her anger after suffering such severe injuries. As a sealed immortal realm expert, how could she stand being beaten by two ancient realm cultivators? Moments later, she activated her devouring heaven technique without hesitation. The entire world instantly darkened. Oh no, she actually used the devouring heaven technique. Run. Clearly, Taoist Yi Feng understood how powerful this cultivation technique was, so he immediately warned Yi Zan. After this strange technique was activated, the two of them seemed to be frozen. They were motionless and could even feel the blood in their bodies evaporating. Seeing this, Yi Zan's expression changed drastically and he said, "The heaven-devouring technique is so powerful. Even though she is in a weakened state, we still can't resist it. Sigh, the outcome is still difficult to change. After all, a sealed immortal realm expert is different. How can two ancient realm experts defeat her? Although the gap seems small, there is an unbridgeable gap between the two realms. I can't help but admire them for being able to force her to this extent, but so what? The outcome will not change. People discussed animatedly, feeling very regretful. On the other side of the barrier, a young man was also paying attention to Yi Zan's battle. Seeing him being pushed back like this, he wanted to cheer and jump for joy. Haha, Yi Zan, I bet you didn't expect this day to come. You should just die quickly. You do not need to worry about Yanran. I will definitely take good care of her. This person was naturally Yanran's loyal pursuer, Oh Yunhai. Even now, he was still pursuing Yanran and was still unwilling to give up. At this moment, the two of them were in danger, and their vitality was rapidly decreasing. This powerful cultivation technique could devour the enemy's blood energy and seize the enemy's strength. It had only been a few dozen seconds, but Yi Zan could already sense that more than half of his strength had been absorbed by Meng Yu. If this situation continued, he and Taoist Yi Feng would definitely die. Damn it, the devouring heaven technique is too powerful. I'm afraid junior brother Yi and martial uncle Yi Feng won't be able to resist it for much longer, Aulay said this worriedly. After all, he had a deep understanding of this technique after experiencing it 100 years ago. After all, Meng Yu had relied on this technique to forcefully absorb the life force of tens of thousands of people. 805 One World. It was because of that great battle 100 years ago that her heaven-devouring technique was dubbed as the most vicious technique in the world. Arliss reading Omicron N Beta OX Nouvelle. So Senior brother, should we go and help them? At the very least, it would help them break free from the restraints of the devouring heaven technique, Yuelin said worriedly. After Yi Zan started fighting, she was constantly on tenterhooks and looked very tired. Hearing this, Aulay waved his hand and said, absolutely not. Perhaps none of you know just how powerful the devouring heaven technique is. If you stepped into the absorption range of the technique, you would be sucked dry in moments. The more people go over, the more energy she can absorb. Therefore, if anyone goes over now, it will only make things worse. After hearing this, everyone present became worried. This won't do. Can we only watch this continue? Is there any way we can help them? Yuelin asked anxiously. However, she knew very well that with her current cultivation level, she would not be of much help in this battle. Ha ha ha. After using the devouring heaven technique, Meng Yu seemed to have been possessed. Her eyes were bloodshot and her entire being was filled with killing intent. After being immobilized, Yi Zan looked at Taoist Yi Feng as more and more of their blood evaporated into thin air. Taoist Yi Feng was already old and probably would not be able to hold on much longer. Yi Zan was also very anxious. If this situation continued, both of them would probably end up dead. However, he remained calm and activated the 3 Tao flowers in his sea of consciousness, causing them to release dazzling divine light. Since the situation had developed to this point, he could only use his final trump card. Oh, after fully activating the devouring heaven technique, Meng Yu looked at the two of them with a cold gaze. However, at this moment, she suddenly sensed strange energy fluctuations emanating from Yi Zan's body. However, before she could investigate what was going on, the entire world began to tremble. All of the flowers, plants, and trees within a few hundred kilometers had dried up. What exactly is happening? Why did the plants and trees here instantly dry up? At this moment, people could not help but discuss with worried faces. However, at this moment, someone else noticed that this strange scene was caused by Yi Zan, and that strange fluctuations were being released from his body. Could it be that Yi Zan still has a trump card that he hasn't used? Everyone revealed shocked expressions. From beyond the barrier, as the battle continued, more people started to gather to watch again. After seeing that Yi Zan was about to unleash another terrifying sword move, they waited with bated breaths. What the hell is this move? This scene is too terrifying, an expert said with a surprised expression. He had already lived for more than 1,000 years, but this was the first time he had seen such a strange scene. Even Meng Yu was starting to panic. Seeing that Yi Zan, who had been completely restrained by her, was actually releasing a powerful sword aura again, her expression changed drastically, and she immediately took a few steps back. The space where she had just stood was ripped to shreds by the sword aura. At this moment, even the space began to fluctuate violently, and cracks gradually spread out. As the light flickered, a figure holding a longsword slowly appeared in everyone's field of vision. Yi Zan held the god's sword aloft, and then swung it, causing the entire world to darken. At this moment, Meng Yu felt fear creep in from the depths of her heart. She had never seen such a sword move before. It was simply incomparably terrifying. Great Witch, this can be considered my trump card. It is called One World. Let's end today's matter here. No matter what the outcome is, the grudges between us will be severed by this sword. Yi Zan said this with a cold expression. He originally did not want to use this trump card, but Meng Yu was probably prepared for all of his previous moves, so he had no choice. One World. What kind of move is this? People had never heard of this move before, so they were very puzzled. It was obvious that they did not understand the insights contained in this sword move at all. The moment Yi Zan swung the god's sword, the flow of time seemed to have changed. The flowers and trees in the distance withered at an extremely fast speed. This sword is related to the laws of time. Everyone paled in shock, finally understanding what Yi Zan's move was about. This sword move could actually control the flow of time and use it to make everything wither, including his enemies. Even a sealed immortal realm expert like Meng Yu couldn't escape such a powerful move. The difference between this move and the heaven-splitting sword technique was that it could ignore not only space, but also time. Any divine would pale in comparison to this move. It had only been a short while, but Meng Yu's hair was already beginning to turn pale. She was flustered. You want to use this method to kill me? Hearing this, Yi Zan smiled coldly and replied, what's wrong? Can't I? Great demoness, you are indeed very powerful, and also an existence that I cannot defeat. However, this does not mean that I cannot kill you. Hearing this, Meng Yu's heart began to turn cold. She felt that she was really going to suffer this time. 806 Taoist Yi Feng's choice. Based on the current situation, Meng Yu was sure that Yi Zan had the ability to kill her. Arlise reading Omicron N Beta OX Nouvelle. So even though she had the immortal bones, it was possible to exhaust its power too. Moreover, there seemed to be no way of blocking Yi Zan's move. Even her devouring heaven technique was powerless against this move. However, she did not believe that Yi Zan would kill her in such a way. While using this move, you and I will be in the same time flow. Even if you can kill me, you will be unable to escape the same fate as well. Could it be that you want to sacrifice yourself in exchange for my life? Can't I? Yi Zan laughed out loud. After hearing those words, Meng Yu's heart trembled continuously. He was simply crazy. He was actually wagering his life for hers. Damn it, you're crazy. Meng Yu cursed. Her greatest wish had yet to be realized, so how could she die now? If Yi Zan wanted to die, then he should die by himself. She did not want to accompany him to the netherworld. Flustered, Meng Yu tried her best to break free. However, before the laws of time, everything she did was useless. Although she was only stopped by a thin barrier, it was this barrier that made it impossible for her to escape. Feeling her life force disappearing at an extremely fast pace, Meng Yu became even more flustered. Go to hell. After figuring out that she could not break free, Meng Yu made her decision. At the very least, she had to drag Yi Zan down with her before she died. Moreover, only by killing Yi Zan could he escape the restraints of the laws of time in this space. In the blink of an eye, Meng Yu grabbed her demonic sword and tried to stab Yi Zan. However, at this moment, Yi Zan, whose eyes had been closed, suddenly opened them. Two sword beams shot toward Meng Yu with incredible momentum. Furthermore, Yi Zan secretly mobilized his strength and swung his sword, forcing her demonic sword back. Once he did that, he flashed forward and stabbed his sword into Meng Yu's body. Yi Zan's life force dissipated at this moment. Meng Yu shouted hysterically. Yi Zan's move just now had also cut off all of her life force. Most importantly, it had actually severed her immortal bones. It's you. Meng Yu looked at Yi Feng. She could not believe that Yi Feng would tell Yi Zan about this. However, only Yi Feng knew where her immortal bones were hidden. The place where the immortal bones were hidden in her body could constantly change, so even if Yi Zan's spiritual sense was monstrous, he could not detect them. However, the sword move that Yi Zan had just unleashed still accurately struck her immortal bones. The reason was that when Yi Zan unleashed the sword move, Taoist Yi Feng had also activated his power, causing the immortal bones in Meng Yu's body to be revealed. This allowed Yi Zan to accurately strike his desired target. At this moment, the entire world once again shone with light. Everyone looked up at the same time and saw two more people falling from the sky. Could it be the same outcome again? This scene was not unfamiliar to them at all, but it was also different. After all, they could not sense Yi Zan's aura at all. It was obvious that the two of them were truly dead at this moment. At this moment, Zhu Yuyu silently cried, barely holding her wails in. She had truly realized that her teacher would probably never appear by her side again. From now on, she had to take on the responsibility of Cloud Sky Peak and take care of her two junior sisters. At this moment, Zhu Yuyu felt as if she had lost all of her strength, and she fell limply to the ground. First sister. After seeing Zhu Yuyu's helpless appearance, Feng Xian also cried and hugged Zhu Yuyu tightly. After today's battle, Cloud Sky Peak's pillar of support was gone. The two of them were very sad. Fortunately, Shang Yun was still unconscious and did not know that her teacher had died. Otherwise, she would have gone berserk again. At this moment, Taoist Yi Feng slowly regained consciousness and muttered to himself, "Is everything settled?" Looking at the two people falling from the sky, Taoist Yi Feng could no longer hold on and instantly descended to the ground. This hatred that had lasted for over 100 years was finally resolved at this moment. After a long time, Yi Feng finally stood up and walked to Meng Yu's side. After seeing that her body had turned cold, her heart was filled with indescribable emotions. This scene is familiar, almost like back then. However, this time, Yi Feng did not hold back. He mobilized all of the spiritual power in his body and slapped his chest. Poochie. Yi Feng instantly spat out a mouthful of blood, causing everyone to turn pale with fright. Upon seeing this, Aolei's expression changed drastically as he charged towards Taoist Yi Feng. Yi Feng's aura erupted, instantly forcing him back. "Don't come near me," Yi Feng said dejectedly. He did not want to experience such days anymore. All these years, he had been living in a nightmare every day. From today onward, he could be considered to have redeemed himself and could reunite with his former brothers. Moments later, Yi Feng took out a manual. It contained all of the insights he had gained over the years regarding the Tao of Reincarnation. He casually tossed it to Aolei. "Keep this book manual. After you truly comprehend the Tao of Reincarnation, go to the desert region and send the disciples of the Great Wilderness Divine Sect who died there into reincarnation." As soon as he finished speaking, Yi Feng dug out his own immortal bones without hesitation. Then, he dug out the immortal bones from Meng Yu's body and instantly destroyed them. Vast energy fluctuations swept out. "Don't." Everyone from the Great Wilderness Divine Sect were shouting crazily. They did not want to see such a scene take place. They had never expected that Yi Feng would destroy both immortal bones at the same time in order to prevent Meng Yu from reviving. 807 dead or alive. From now on, the immortal bones no longer existed on the East Continent. They would only appear in the records of history. Arliss reading Omicron N Beta OX Nouvelle. So M. Then Taoist Yi Feng fell to the ground. He hugged the delicate body in his arms and fell into an eternal sleep. All of the grudges between the two of them had ended with their deaths. In this battle, two peak-level ancient realm experts had fallen in order to kill a mighty sealed immortal realm expert. Although the Great Wilderness Divine Sect had won, the price they had to pay was too great. Just as everyone was filled with grief and indignation, the sky suddenly released bursts of dazzling light. Moments later, 3 Dao flowers appeared and floated quietly in the sky. What exactly is going on? Everyone was confused. This aura is too scary. Is another expert coming here? The crowd started to panic. After experiencing this great battle, the two ancient realm experts of the Great Wilderness Divine Sect had both fallen. If an enemy of that level appeared again, how should they deal with it? In the midst of the panicked cries, the 3 Dao flowers released intense light again. When the light dissipated, a figure slowly condensed in the sky. "Teacher." This person was no stranger to them, and Zhu Yuyu immediately shouted excitedly. Although tears were still dripping from her eyes, they were now tears of excitement. Her teacher was still alive and well. He had not left them. Ai can still come back to life like this. Gao Shun, who was originally still crying, instantly stopped what he was doing incredulously. Although he was happy, he also felt deceived. That being said, how did he create this miracle? After experiencing 2 life and death crises, he was still alive and well. Could it be that Yi Zan also had immortal bones? Isn't this great? Our martial uncle is still alive. We've won. The Great Wilderness Divine Sect has won. When they saw Yi Zan reappear, all of the sect's disciples on Sky Mountain cheered and shouted. As disciples of the Great Wilderness Divine Sect, they all felt a sense of honor. Amidst this world-ending disaster, the chances of survival were slim. However, the Great Wilderness Divine Sect bravely stood up and withstood all of this, allowing the people to survive. At this moment, Yi Zan was still floating in the sky. He brandished his 2 divine swords. The power in his body was about to be out of control, so Yi Zan had to use the full force of his might to keep himself from breaking through. His overwhelming power caused space to fluctuate. What is junior brother Yi doing? Looking at this situation, everyone was confused. They did not know what was going on at all, and were all afraid that something would happen again. Yi Zan was still standing proudly in the sky, his 3 Dao flowers floating above his head, releasing bursts of dazzling light. At this moment, Yi Zan could only release the violent spiritual power in his body, injecting it into the ground to restore the flowers and trees that had withered away earlier. Could it be that junior brother Yi is about to break through? Aolei suddenly said this, his face full of shock. He's about to reach the sealed immortal realm. Gao Shun also sensed that something was amiss at this time. His mouth was wide open in surprise, and waves of shock surged through his heart. If Yi Zan could successfully break through, he would be able to cast away his mortal body and become a true immortal, an immortal recognized by the laws of the world. Who would have expected that Yi Zan would benefit so greatly from the battle, to the extent that he was about to break through? Everyone was shocked. How old was Yi Zan? At such a young age, he was actually going to break through to the sealed immortal realm. At this moment, a growl was heard as Yi Zan swung the god's sword at the sky, tearing space apart. Oh my god, is he trying to prove and complete his sword Dao now? Within the heavenly domain, everyone's expression changed drastically. None of them could believe what they were seeing. Yi Zan's body trembled and instantly released a majestic righteous aura, causing everyone to become stunned once again. This power, merit power, could it be that Yi Zan wanted to prove and complete 2 Daos? Oh my god, does he have a few screws loose? He's actually so crazy. Even if he had to risk his life, there was no need to be like this, right? Those watching from beyond the world barrier who had reached the peak of the ancient realm knew how difficult the task of proving and completing one's Dao was, yet this insane person was trying to do it with 2 Daos. They were all extremely shocked. Was he not biting off more than he could chew? I really don't know if I should call him smart or stupid. Trying to break through to the sealed immortal realm with 2 Daos is simply a fool's dream. I'm looking forward to seeing how he fails, a peak-level ancient realm said coldly as he stared at the scene. He did not believe that Yi Zan could accomplish such a shocking feat. At this moment, another rumble sounded, and the last Dao flower above Yi Zan's head began to bloom. 808 Heavenly Tribulation, Part 1. Looking at the 3 Dao flowers above Yi Zan's head, everyone finally understood what he was attempting at this moment. Each and every one of them gasped in shock and amazement. Arliss reading Omicron N Beta OX Nouvelle. So M. Holy FCK. Relying on 3 Daos to break through. Crazy. This person must be crazy. Does this person not want to live any longer? Some of the onlookers from beyond the barrier had already lived for over 1,000 years, but this was the first time they had seen such a death-defying attempt to break through to the sealed immortal realm. Yi Zan's actions were definitely akin to suicide. However, if he was lucky enough to complete 3 Daos together, he would definitely become the #1 expert in this world. No one could compare to him. On the flip side, failure meant death. The excitement caused everyone to break out in a cold sweat. Zhu Guiyu was also clenching her teeth. She looked at the scene anxiously and muttered to herself, "Teacher, you have to succeed. I believe in you." To her, her teacher was considered her spiritual pillar. Not only did he help her get rid of the shackles of her revenge, but he also taught her cultivation techniques and constantly protected her. Perhaps others didn't understand, but in her heart, Yi Zan was more important than anything else, even her own life. The reason why she was cultivating with all her might was that she wanted to be able to help her teacher when he was in danger. She also wanted to make her teacher proud by competing with others. Every time she learned that Yi Zan was in danger, her heart would twist with anxiety. She was the one most fervently praying for his success and safety. Honestly, she did not need her teacher to be a peerless expert. She just wanted him to be safe and sound. However, it was not up to her now. It was up to Yi Zan. Bolts of lightning descended in quick succession, as dark clouds covered the sky. The atmosphere over Sky Mountain was oppressive and uncomfortable. Thunder rumbled, as if heralding the start of the main show. Aolei looked at this scene worriedly. He saw that Yi Zan's 3 Dao flowers were releasing dazzling divine light. However, seconds later, they were struck by bolts of lightning. Fortunately, when the lighting dissipated, Yi Zan's Dao flowers were still floating there quietly. He actually blocked it. Everyone was shocked. That being said, even though he successfully blocked the heavenly lightning, Yi Zan was not in good condition. He held his chest with his right hand and spat out a mouthful of blood. Then, he raised his head and looked at the sky. Every movement seemed painful at this moment, but Yizan's expression did not change. After wiping the blood from his mouth unhurriedly, he said to himself, I was indeed too impatient this time around. Yizan originally wanted to continue accumulating strength before attempting to break through to the sealed immortal realm. Unfortunately, after the battle with Meng Yu, he lost control of his power, and was forced to attempt a breakthrough. In any case, since things had reached this point, Yizan's only choice was to forcefully charge forward and complete his breakthrough today. After taking a deep breath, Yizan closed his eyes and muttered to himself, keep it coming. Allow me to properly experience how difficult the heavenly tribulation of this world is. As soon as he finished speaking, Yizan quietly floated in the sky, and he began to release the spiritual power within his body. His powerful sword aura started to wreak havoc everywhere. Streaks of sword aura flashed continuously all over the place, and in the blink of an eye, a tall mountain was sliced in half. Oh my god, this is bad. Look, the barrier is about to shatter. Everyone could sense that after Yizan completely released his sword aura, the cracks on the world barrier spread even faster, causing people to panic. Moments later, another extremely terrifying heavenly lightning bolt appeared and struck Yizan's 3 Dao flowers. Yizan's body suddenly trembled from the damage he suffered, and he spat out another mouthful of blood. At that moment, another cultivator said in surprise, could it be that he's already undergoing the sealed immortal realm's heavenly tribulation? Oh, what is that? People immediately looked over with interest. Although they knew that if they wanted to become sealed immortal realm experts, they had to prove and complete their Dao, so that it was recognized by the laws of the world, they did not have a detailed understanding of the crucial details. Some of the people who had reached the peak of the ancient realm explained, everyone knows that if one's cultivation level has already reached the peak of the ancient realm, one must comprehend the Dao and break away from the mortal world. There are many Daos, such as the Dao of merit, the great Dao of body refining, the Dao of the sword, the Dao of the saber, and so on. As long as you completely comprehend one of the Daos, you will be able to rely on this Dao to experience the heavenly tribulation in order to obtain recognition from the laws of the world. The heavenly tribulations are based on one's Dao, but... After saying this, the white-haired old man's expression changed drastically before he continued, there are also levels of difficulty when it comes to heavenly tribulations. Those who choose a more difficult Dao, and those who choose to comprehend more Daos, will naturally experience more difficult tribulations. Those that fail will suffer tragic ends. This. After hearing this, everyone immediately understood. 809 Heavenly Tribulation, Part 2. Thanks to how terrifying this heavenly tribulation was, they could estimate how amazing Yizan's potential was. Arliss reading Omicron N Beta OX Nouvelle. So M. However, people were also very regretful at this moment. After all, very few experts had ever been able to survive a heavenly tribulation of this level. It seemed that today, another peerless genius would fall. Yizan's actions were indeed too arrogant and conceited. He should have chosen to break through with only one Dao in order to succeed. HMPH. Biting off more than you can chew. If you die, it serves you right. After hearing this, those from beyond the barrier looked over in unison, only to discover that the person who had said these spiteful words was Yunhai, who was pleased to see Yizan in danger. As long as Yizan was gone, Yanran would belong to him. Oh, why did young Master O take the time to come here today? An old man asked with an evil smile. His eyes were fixed on Yunhai, and he even sized up his body unabashedly. It was obvious that this person had taken a fancy to Yunhai. After noticing the old man's expression, Yunhai felt goosebumps all over his body once he realized what kind of person this old man was. HMPH. Elder Nightmare, do I have to report to you wherever I go? As soon as he finished speaking, the atmosphere at the scene immediately turned heavy. However, Elder Nightmare only smiled lightly and did not take it to heart. Elder Nightmare, heed my advice and restrain yourself a little. Don't air your disgusting thoughts in the open and make me angry. Yunhai gritted his teeth as he said these words. Then, he angrily waved his sleeves and turned to leave. Even though he looked very brave, he was still a little afraid. Ha ha. Elder Nightmare laughed wickedly as he watched Yunhai leave, and even licked his lips. He was as perverted as one could be. That young man is really not bad. His character is also fiery enough to match my tastes. As soon as he finished speaking, all of the young men nearby instantly trembled and broke out into cold sweat. All of them wanted to leave now. Many people in the Heaven continent were familiar with this old man, who was pretty much the same as the white-browed old man back then. They both cultivated extremely evil cultivation techniques. However, the white-browed old man only liked women, while Elder Nightmare preferred men. Someone like Oh Yunhai fit his tastes to a T. Many young men would tremble in fear when they saw him, and could not help but tighten their legs. Who could withstand it? Boom. At this moment, a loud explosion erupted, redirecting everyone's attention. What happened? Looking closely, the crowd finally noticed that the situation on Yizan's side had changed, and countless bolts of heavenly lightning were cascading down. Dear God, with so many bolts of heavenly lightning striking him at the same time, no matter how many lives he has, it won't be enough. Everyone was dumbfounded. Their pupils involuntarily dilated as they watched the deluge of heavenly lightning strike Yizan. In the blink of an eye, Yizan was buried within a sea of heavenly lightning. At this moment, Yizan did not dare to hold back at all. He mobilized every ounce of spiritual power in his body to strengthen his defense. The heavenly tribulation he was currently experiencing was the one for his Tao of body refining. If he passed it, the other heavenly tribulations for his the Sword Tao and Tao of merit would be much easier. You want to take me down with just this? Don't even think about it. After roaring that fiercely, dense golden divine runes instantly enveloped him. Everyone's jaws dropped in shock once again. Those divine runes had successfully blocked the heavenly lightning. Yizan's 3 Tao flowers then emitted even more dazzling divine light, constantly absorbing the power contained in the heavenly lightning. After a while, they turned back into 3 flower buds. Yizan used all his strength and instantly sat in the Tao flower that had fused with his Tao of body refining. Oh my God, did he really succeed? Did he survive such a powerful heavenly tribulation? At this moment, everyone was dumbfounded. Although Yizan looked very miserable now, and even the flesh on his body was charred in many places, everyone could see the faint immortal aura released from Yizan's body. Only those who had successfully passed the heavenly tribulation would possess such an aura. Unimaginable. This is really unimaginable. At this moment, an ancient realm expert exclaimed in disbelief. He's really crazy, crazy. This expert's worldview had been changed. At his age, this was the first time he had seen such a thing. Therefore, he could only describe this series of events as pure lunacy. Could it be that the current era had changed and was no longer suitable for an old man like him? 810 Heavenly Tribulation, Part 3. Yizan's body had been baptized by the immortal heavenly treasure. Moreover, he possessed the rainbow robe and a large amount of fate energy in his body. Arliss reading Omicron N Beta OX Nouvelle. So M. All of this meant that he was far stronger than the average peak-level ancient realm expert, and it was also where the source of his confidence lay. At this moment, Yizan had already passed the heavenly tribulation for his Tao of body refining. Only the heavenly tribulations for the Tao of merit and his sword Tao remained. With the help of his Tao flower, Yizan desperately mobilized his strength and channeled his sword aura into his body. Yizan wanted to turn his body into a sword. This was the most powerful aspect of the sword Tao. If Yizan really completed it, then his strength would undergo an earth-shattering change. With a loud roar, dense sword beams instantly rushed toward him, emitting a huge roar. Oh no! Retreat quickly! The sword beams that Yizan released actually caused the barrier to crack further. Looking at this scene, everyone was dumbfounded. One had to know that only sealed immortal realm experts could destroy the world barrier, yet this peak-level ancient realm expert had the same level of power. Just how terrifying was this? At this moment, a question suddenly rang out in Yizan's sea of consciousness. What is a sword? This sentence lingered in Yizan's sea of consciousness repeatedly, waiting for Yizan's answer. After Yizan thought for a moment, he replied, everything in the world can be a sword. Which sword is the strongest in your heart? Hearing this, Yizan pondered for some time before replying, the sword of justice is the strongest sword. The road ahead is long, and the path of an immortal is endless. Even the smallest speck of dust contains endless mysteries. This hand doesn't hold a sword, but if there is a sword in your heart, everything can become a sword and slice even the smallest speck of dust. This is the most powerful sword. Very well said. A majestic voice rang out. In an instant, a wisp of golden light shot into Yizan's body. He had passed the sword Tao tribulation. Under the effect of the golden light, his sword Tao had been greatly improved. A casual slash of his sword could cut through all things. When he sensed that there was an extremely terrifying power flowing in his body, Yizan was overjoyed. As soon as he finished speaking, Yizan activated his power without hesitation and planted the sword Tao seed in his body. From then on, he could turn his body into a sword. With a raise of his hand and a raise of his foot, a huge rumble was heard from the sky again, and heavenly lightning descended once again. However, Yi Zan was much more arrogant this time. Before the heavenly lightning descended, Yi Zan roared, "Get lost!" For some reason, as if hearing him, the heavenly lightning seemed to hesitate. However, Yi Zan did not stop there. He waved his sword and condensed a terrifying sword beam that destroyed the heavenly lightning. Seeing such a shocking scene, everyone's jaws almost dropped. Heavens! This is the first time I've seen such a domineering scene since I was born. He can even destroy heavenly lightning. Those bolts of heavenly lightning originated from the laws of the world. How did Yi Zan do it? This was completely unexpected. At this moment, Yi Zan only had the Tao of Merit's heavenly tribulation to pass. He opened his hands and infused the power of merit into his body. The merit power had been granted to him from purifying the vengeful spirits. Yi Zan did not deliberately suppress it this time and allowed the merit power to be completely released. Boom! Yi Zan's body shook and trembled as the terrifying merit power wreaked havoc in Yi Zan's body. The entire world shook violently, and everyone looked up at the sky at the same time. Did he succeed? Today's events had completely refreshed their worldview. Ancient realm experts had defeated and slain a sealed immortal realm expert, and now one of those ancient realm experts was breaking through to the sealed immortal realm in the most unbelievable way possible. Moments later, the world once again bloomed with colors, and then no more movements were heard. At this moment, Yi Zan's 3 Tao flowers were floating quietly in the sky. Waves of divine light shone on Yi Zan's body, making him look like a god. Everyone was so shocked that they were speechless. After a while, someone said, "Oh my god, he actually did it. Our East continent actually produced a sealed immortal realm cultivator." A moment later, waves of cheers rang out, shaking the entire East continent. All of the members of the Great Wilderness Divine Sect were overjoyed. Hee, I've always thought highly of junior brother Yi. He really succeeded. Gao Shun jumped up happily and shouted these words. Senior brother Ao, our sect will definitely soar to the heavens this time. In the past tens of millions of years, there has never been a sealed immortal realm expert in the East continent. However, this precedent has now been set by our Great Wilderness Divine Sect. From now on, who can stop our sect? Gao Shun was already extremely happy at this time. The other disciples were the same. There was only one sealed immortal realm expert in the East continent now, and he belonged to the Great Wilderness Divine Sect. Even being in the same sect was a great honor and privilege. After today's battle, the reputation of the Great Wilderness Divine Sect would become unparalleled in the East continent, as would its reputation. With Yi Zan as a deterrent, no other expert or force would dare to cause trouble. At this moment, Yi Zan spoke in a certain direction. Every word he said seemed to exude an immortal aura. All enemies of the Great Wilderness Divine Sect shall be slain. After saying this, Yi Zan coldly swept his gaze across the world barrier. Even the experts in the Heaven continent lowered their heads. They did not have the courage to meet Yi Zan's gaze. The entire world fell into a strange atmosphere of silence. In the presence of a sealed immortal realm expert, no one dared to speak. Looking at the group of experts in the Heaven continent, Yi Zan's expression remained very cold, but inwardly, he was extremely happy. Although this breakthrough attempt had been extremely abrupt and risky, he had somehow managed to pull through in the end. Then, he searched the crowd on the other side of the world barrier, but failed to find his girlfriend. 811 barrier shatters. At this moment, Yi Zan felt a little disappointed. He had been so awesome just now, yet Yanran was not around to witness his feats with her own eyes. It was really a pity. Arlise reading Omicron N Beta OX Nouvelle. So he wondered what she was doing at the moment. Could it be that she was also preparing to complete her Tao and advance to the sealed immortal realm? Not long ago, when they were communicating past the barrier, Yi Zan had already noticed that Yanran's aura was already at the peak of the ancient realm. Moreover, as the saintess of the Great Wilderness Divine Sect, she probably had access to enough resources to break through, right? He felt that this was the case. Thinking this, Yi Zan was very happy. My girlfriend is really pretty good. She was following in his footsteps. After that, Yi Zan took a serious look at his surroundings, which had been completely devastated by the aftermath of the battle. Sigh, this move is indeed very powerful, but the aftermath is too great. I even had to consume an immortal grade pill. Still, it was all necessary in order to achieve victory and resolve the grudge that the Great Wilderness Divine Sect had for the past 100 years. He had broken through to the sealed immortal realm. The end result was quite satisfactory. Suddenly, at this moment, a loud roar was heard, attracting Yi Zan's attention. In the sky, the huge skeleton roared angrily. It was originally trapped by Taoist Yi Feng, but after the latter died, the power restraining it disappeared. Feeling endless resentment, it opened its mouth wide and began to devour crazily, trying to drag everyone to hell with it. Yi Zan watched this scene with a cold expression. He casually swung the god's sword. "You impudent thing, go to hell." As soon as he finished speaking, the god's sword instantly split the skeleton into two and then flew back into Yi Zan's hand. However, Yi Zan did not stop there. He raised his sword and released another sword beam, instantly destroying the skeleton's soul. Yi Zan's face was still expressionless. Then, he turned around to look at Taoist Yi Feng and Meng Yu. When he noticed that Taoist Yi Feng had passed away with a relieved expression on his face, Yi Zan felt very emotional. Martial uncle, why did you lie to me?" Yi Zan felt a little uncomfortable at this moment and muttered to himself, "Actually, I should have expected it. The immortal bones are so powerful, so there was no way they would be destroyed so easily." Taoist Yi Feng had been waiting for an opportunity to die with Meng Yu to end the threat for good. Before he died, he even pulled Meng Yu into the reincarnation cycle to prevent any accidents from happening. If Yi Zan's guess was correct, they would be reborn together. After experiencing this matter, what would happen between the two of them? He was even wondering whether he should intervene and make sure that things went well. However, how could he find their birthplace? Just as Yi Zan was considering this, the sky suddenly started cracking. "Oh no, fall back. The world barrier is about to shatter." At this moment, many experts who were still close to the barrier retreated frantically, afraid that they would be caught up in whatever happened when it did. More and more cracks began to spread out, and with a loud bang the barrier shattered into fragments and scattered on the ground. Everyone looked up at the sky in unison, only to see that the sky was once again covered with dark clouds. Clearly, a huge change was about to take place. What exactly is this? On the East continent, people looked up at them in confusion. Many people had no idea what was going on. When Yi Zan saw the world barrier shatter, he instantly understood what was happening. He put the god's sword away and returned to the Great Wilderness Divine Sect. "Junior brother Yi, what exactly is going on?" After seeing Yi Zan return, Gao Shun immediately asked. Yi Zan replied calmly, "The world barrier that separated the 8 continents has been broken. The 8 continents might soon be reunited again. The battle for the immortal path is about to begin." Seeing Yi Zan say these words with a serious expression, everyone was taken aback. A battle for the immortal path. What is the meaning of this? The East continent isn't the only continent in this world. However, because the world barrier separated the continents, things remained harmonious up till now. Now that the world barrier has shattered, the experts from other continents will be able to travel between continents. There are also many peerless geniuses in the other continents. They too are pursuing the immortal path, and everyone will have to compete in order to strengthen themselves and reach the peak. Everyone's mood turned heavy, feeling as if another burden had been placed on their shoulders. Would the geniuses of the East continent be able to compete with the other continents? If their geniuses fell behind, would they not be despised by the other continents? At the same time, everyone pondered on which geniuses would represent the East continent. 2 of Yi Zan's disciples, Zhu Yuyu and Shang Yun, were among the foremost candidates for this. 812 making preparations. With their teacher's guidance, these 2 had the best chance of competing against the geniuses of the other continents. Arliss reading Omicron N Beta OX Nouvelle. So Yi Zan remained unfazed and walked over to Taoist Yi Feng and Meng Yu's corpses, squatting down. Aolei soon joined him. After a long time, Aolei said, "Martial Uncle Yi has really suffered a lot in this lifetime." Perhaps the person who understood Taoist Yi Feng the most was Aolei. Over the past 100 years, Taoist Yi Feng had probably only survived until today to resolve the grudge between the sect and Meng Yu. Now that it was complete, he no longer had the desire to continue living. Yi Zan sighed and said, "Perhaps this was the best ending for Martial Uncle Yi in this situation." Yi Zan did not know what to say. After all, this was Taoist Master Yi Feng's own decision, and Yi Zan could not interfere. Looking at the barrier in the sky that was still crumbling, Yi Zan could even see the experts from the other continents through it. "Senior brother Ao, this world will soon welcome a great change. You must be fully prepared." Hearing this, Aolei nodded. The Great Wilderness Divine Sect was now the undisputed #1 sect in the East continent, and would now have to maintain that status in light of the current situation. Incidentally, the sect had fought and emerged victorious amidst the disaster, so they could take advantage of this opportunity to recruit a large number of disciples and make sufficient preparations to compete with the sects and geniuses of the other continents. Looking at the two corpses, Yi Zan casually waved his hand and released a ray of light that enveloped them. Then, he placed both corpses into a copper coffin. After doing all this, Yi Zan injected his spiritual power into the copper coffin, sending it directly into the endless void. No one knew where Yi Zan had sent this coffin, and no one dared to ask. After doing this, Yi Zan sighed. Taoist Yi Feng had already told Yi Zan what to do in the event that he died, discussed this matter with him. Yi Zan had initially brushed it off as being unnecessary, but it had ended up becoming a reality. Junior brother Yi, let's. Ao Lei said hesitantly. Even though Meng Yu's matter had been settled, there was more than just Meng Yu to deal with. 3 of the 7 strange monsters had escaped, and there was still the mysterious master of the strange world. Also, the strange power was still spreading throughout the East continent. With the world barrier shattering, it was now starting to spread to the other continents. The situation was getting out of hand. This forced the experts from the other continents to scramble to come up with countermeasures to deal with it. Yi Zan calmly swept his gaze across the sky, but in his heart, he was thinking about what to do. The 3 strange monsters that escaped did not worry him at all, but the mysterious master of the strange realm did. He still knew nothing about this person, or how strong this person was. Of course, as a sealed immortal realm expert, Yi Zan was not worried about having to fight this person. The other thing he had to consider was how complicated the current situation was with the 8 continents reuniting. Yi Zan really did not know how this situation would unfold or develop. Based on the current situation, Sky Mountain was undoubtedly the safest place in the East continent, as it was the Great Wilderness Divine Sect's current base of operations. With Yi Zan as their flag bearer, very few people would dare to cause trouble for them. At this moment, things in the East continent were gradually calming down, which was in part due to the fact that the other continents were now sharing the burden of dealing with the strange power. There were no signs of the 3 strange monsters who had escaped either. Perhaps they had chosen to flee to other continents to avoid Yi Zan. After seeing this situation, the corners of Yi Zan's mouth curled up slightly as he said, in this case, the East continent can properly reorganize and make sufficient preparations. After all, now that the battle is over, what we need most is time to recover. With the other 7 continents open now, the strange realm will likely shift their focus, alleviating our burden. This will give us a much-needed respite. Hearing Yi Zan's words, Ao Lei nodded. The shattering of the world barrier had come at an opportune moment. He even suspected that Yi Zan had somehow deliberately caused this to happen. However, if anyone were to ask, Yi Zan would definitely not admit it, even if you put a knife to his neck. All right, senior brother Ao, I'll leave the matters here to you. Yi Zan then flew over to Zhu Guoyu and the others. He hugged the unconscious Shang Yun, then looked at Zhu Guoyu and Feng Xian and said, let's return to Cloud Sky Peak. Thus Yi Zan and the others returned to the Cloud Sky Peak. After seeing Yi Zan leave in a hurry, everyone felt very puzzled. Could it be that something big was about to happen? At this moment, Ao Lei shouted, everyone, the crisis on Sky Mountain has been resolved for the time being. Also, from tomorrow onward, the Great Wilderness Divine Sect will continue to recruit disciples, and the quota will increase by 100,000. We welcome everyone to participate in the assessment. After hearing this news, Sky Mountain was thrown into an uproar. Everyone was very excited. 813 long-term coma. Especially those who did not pass the first round of assessments. The increase in quota would mean that they would have a second chance at joining the sect. Arliss reading Omicron N Beta OX Nouvelle. So After all, the sect was now the undisputed number 1 in everyone's minds right now, which was further strengthened by the fact that Yi Zan was the East continent's only sealed immortal realm expert. His reputation alone would bring people from far and wide. After Ao Lei announced the news, the people on Sky Mountain began to cheer and shout. Seeing this, the disciples of the Great Wilderness Divine Sect felt rather proud. Ha ha ha, it's a good thing I chose to join the Great Wilderness Divine Sect at that time. It truly was a wise move. Dad, Mom, hurry up and take a look. Are you proud of me now? I became a disciple of the best sect in the East continent. The elders watch all of this happen with satisfied gazes. It seemed that they would have an excellent harvest of disciples this year. According to the tradition of the Great Wilderness Divine Sect, only the chiefs of the 7 mountain peaks could recruit disciples, followed by the elders of the sect. As elders, they were always left to choose from those with mediocre talents. At times, they really could not bear to accept them, so they chose not to accept disciples. However, with the pool of potential disciples being so large, there was a good chance that talented cultivators would slip through the cracks. This was an excellent opportunity to recruit disciples. After this battle came to an end, so did the crisis on Sky Mountain. Gao Shun smiled happily at this moment, and then he turned to look at the disciples of Hidden Sword Peak and shouted loudly, "What are you still doing? Hurry up and go collect the treasures." After hearing this hint, everyone immediately came back to their senses. The plains outside were already filled with all kinds of precious bones and treasures. If they did not pick them up now, others would benefit. Gao Shun was still the most reliable. While everyone was still thinking about how to take in 1 or 2 genius disciples tomorrow, he was capitalizing on the situation to increase his peak's treasury. FCK. Hearing Gao Shun's reminder, everyone became anxious and rushed out without hesitation, searching for traces of heavenly treasures and precious bones. The number of berserk beasts that had fallen, so with a little luck, it would be easy to find a precious bone. This was a good time to store cultivation resources, so War Rufeng led the disciples of the sect out of the defensive formation to search for treasures. The scene was bustling, almost as if it was a festival. Back at the sect, Yi Zan had arrived back on Cloud Sky Peak with his 3 disciples. In Cloud Sky Hall, Yi Zan examined Shang Yun, who was still unconscious, and began to worry. "Teacher, what happened to third sister?" Zhu Yuyu asked worriedly. The seal on Shang Yun had loosened several times in a row, and it seemed to have a negative effect on her. Initially, they did not take it to heart. After all, their teacher was still fighting, so they had no time to care about other things. However, now that the danger was over, they realized that something was wrong. Yi Zan did not reply. Instead, he focused his attention on examining her. After some time, he finally said, "It's not a big deal. The power in Shang Yun's body is still in the process of being awakened, but she can't withstand it at the moment, so she fell into a coma." Yi Zan waved his hand and replied, "I'm not sure yet. I'm afraid it might take 5 to 6 years, or even more than 10 years, for her to awaken." After hearing this answer, Zhu Yuyu and Feng Xian were dumbfounded. What kind of situation could cause someone to fall into a coma for more than 10 years? Yi Zan immediately said, "It can't be helped. Perhaps this is something she must experience. After all, this is related to the divine powers she cultivated before she reincarnated. When she reaches a certain level, her body will automatically adapt to the power in her body. Even her potential will be greatly increased." In all honesty, Yi Zan was deeply surprised. This youngest disciple of his had indeed surprised him many times. In particular, the cultivation technique that this little girl cultivated in her previous life piqued Yi Zan's interest. What kind of Tao did she complete in order to break through to the sealed immortal realm? Also, was this just the first time she reincarnated? Thinking this, Yi Zan was looking forward to what would happen when her strength returned to its peak. "Don't worry, all of this is beneficial to Shang Yun. I'll bring her to the Cloud Sky Cave and seal her inside until she wakes up." Hearing Yi Zan's words, the 2 of them were no longer as nervous. "All right, you've been working hard these past few days. Go back and readjust yourselves. The battle for the immortal path is about to arrive. You must also make sufficient preparations. I don't expect you to defeat all of your opponents, but you must work hard and exhibit a performance worthy of your potential." After hearing this, Zhu Yuyu said decisively, "Teacher, don't worry. I will do my best and bring glory to Cloud Sky Peak." Yi Zan was very gratified after hearing this. His eldest disciple was steadfast and trustworthy. She never slacked off, and always made him proud. She was the disciple he was the least worried about. 814 7-colored stone. After sending his 2 disciples back to rest, Yi Zan flew over to Cloud Sky Cave with Shang Yun in his arms. Arliss reading Omicron N Beta OX Nouvelle. So he would be much more at ease if he left Shang Yun here. Oh, just as he was about to turn around and leave after settling her down, Yi Zan suddenly noticed that the 7-colored stone beside the pool was releasing a faint light. Stunned, he hurriedly went forward and carefully examined it. Only then did he discover that mysterious divine runes had actually appeared on this 7-colored stone. After pondering for a while, Yi Zan realized that these divine runes actually detailed an extremely powerful inheritance cultivation technique. Oh my god, could this 7-colored stone be becoming a life form? Yi Zan was extremely surprised. This was something he did not expect at all. It was important to understand that only powerful berserk beasts would experience such a phenomenon in this world. After all, they were born with their own cultivation techniques innately. However, this seven-colored stone was different. Was it not just a stone? Why would it give birth to a cultivation technique? Would it become a rock spirit? Then, the corners of his mouth curled up slightly. The invincible golden body detailed on this stone is really not bad. Ha ha ha, it belongs to me now. As soon as he finished speaking, Yi Zan covered the rainbow stone with his hand and immediately took away the divine runes. At this moment, the seven-colored stone seemed to be nervous. It did not have its own consciousness, so it did not know what was going on. It only knew that the item that belonged to it seemed to have been taken away by someone else. In a moment of impatience, the sound of the water flowing out could be heard. What happened? Hearing this sudden sound, Yi Zan was a little dumbfounded. What exactly was this seven-colored stone? What was its origin? Why could it produce sounds? At this moment, another loud sound rang out, and the stone shattered, and a small thing covered in fur rolled out. In the blink of an eye, Cloud Sky Peak released dazzling divine light, and this little furball instantly sped away into the distance. Yi Zan watched this happen blankly, but when he came back to his senses, he chased after it without hesitation. Soon, he arrived at a peach garden near the East Sea. Oh, where are you hiding? Seeing a group of wild monkeys, Yi Zan was a little dumbfounded. As a sealed immortal realm expert, he actually lost track of the little furball. Who would believe this? Then, a furry monkey whose entire body was emitting dazzling light appeared. Ha ha, you were hiding here. Seeing it jumping and running around on the beach, Yi Zan did not interfere. Instead, he stared at the scene with interest. An idea suddenly appeared in his mind. It really was a monkey. This is too interesting. If he guessed correctly, this little monkey was definitely not a well-behaved creature. He had just stolen its divine runes. If he were to teach the cultivation to it in the future, would he be able to receive a reward from the system? Although it was a little shameless, he felt that it was possible. Down below, the golden furry monkey was already approaching the group of monkeys. After all, it had appeared here out of nowhere, so the Monkey King was wary of it. Little monkey, where did you come from? What is your purpose in coming here? The Monkey King immediately began to interrogate him. Its tail was raised high, as if it was ready to fight at any moment. The little monkey was also at a loss at this moment. After thinking for a while, it did not know how to answer this question. It only vaguely remembered that he had stayed in a cave for a long time. Moreover, there had been someone cultivating in the cave then, and it had relied on the spiritual energy that overflowed from that person's cultivation to improve itself. However, he did not remember what the person cultivating in the cave looked like. After thinking for a long time, the little monkey answered frankly, I came from a very large cave. Oh, when the other monkeys heard this answer, they were very puzzled. At this moment, the Monkey King was still very vigilant as it examined the little furry monkey in front of it. It had never seen a monkey with golden fur before. It glanced at a big-faced monkey beside it and ordered it to go and check the little furry monkey out. At this moment, the big-faced monkey also came forward with a cautious expression. It stretched out its hand and touched the fur of the little monkey before asking, which species of monkey are you? Why have I never seen someone like you before? The little monkey was also dumbfounded at this moment. It could only reply weakly, I just broke out of a seven-colored stone, so I don't know which species I belong to. Upon hearing this answer, all of the monkeys present were speechless. There was actually such a thing. Could it be that some otherworldly monkey had done the unthinkable deed to a seven-colored stone? How shocking. Since you came from a stone, then are you a stone monkey? Yes, that's it. Hearing this answer, the monkey was very satisfied and laughed. The little furry monkey did not seem to be afraid of strangers at all. It had only been born today, but it was getting along well with this group of monkeys. During this period of time, the Monkey King tested the strength of this little furry monkey to see if it was qualified to become a member of the monkey group. However, who would have expected that the two had just started to exchange blows when the strong Monkey King was knocked down? Soon after, the little furry monkey became the current Monkey King. In the world of monkeys, the strong would lead. Only those with strength could protect the monkey group and allow the monkey group to develop better. The little furry monkey had only punched the Monkey King once before knocking it to the ground. Yi Zan was paying attention to the scene, but he did not interfere. 815 Little Monkey, Part 1. Yi Zan observed it carefully, trying to figure out if there was anything special about this little monkey. Arliss reading Omicron N Beta OX Nouvelle. So After all, this little monkey came from their cloud sky peak. Yi Zan knew a little about the legend of this seven-colored stone. It seemed to be one of the sacred items of the Great Wilderness Divine Sect. However, with the passage of time, no one could discover its use, so it was placed in the Cloud Sky Cave. Every chief of the Cloud Sky Peak was responsible for guarding the seven-colored stone, but it seemed that even the Great Wilderness Divine Sect had long forgotten about it. Why does this little furry monkey give me a bad feeling? Yi Zan floated in the sky and frowned slightly. A bad feeling surfaced in his heart, but he could not pinpoint its source or meaning. Did the birth of this little monkey herald another disaster? Less than 2 hours had passed, and this little monkey had already become the monkey king of this place. Things had indeed developed very quickly. While Yi Zan was cultivating in seclusion, the seven-colored stone had been absorbing spiritual energy by his side, and even absorbed a lot of energy from the immortal heavenly treasure. This was why it was so powerful despite just having been born. At the very least, it could easily deal with a small monkey king like this. Moreover, this little furry monkey was born from the world itself, and thus carried an extremely dense aura of the world. However, because it had absorbed a lot of Yi Zan's overflowing spiritual energy, this little monkey had a great connection with Yi Zan. Thinking this, Yi Zan raised his head to look at the sky. He stretched out his hands and continuously calculated, wanting to divine the background of this little monkey. Finally, after checking for a long time, Yi Zan stopped, and his brows began to furrow slightly. This is interesting. Is it really a natural disaster? Then, a smug smile appeared on his face. In that case, he had to take this little monkey in as a disciple. Moreover, the birth of this little furry monkey was also related to Yi Zan, so their karmic connection could not be severed. After making his decision, Yi Zan instantly transformed into a sage-like monkey. Then, he joined the group of monkeys and went over to the little monkey. After becoming the Monkey King, the little furry monkey was extremely excited. However, what he did not expect was that just as he was feeling happy, an extremely terrifying roar was heard from afar. After hearing this voice, many monkeys were frightened and hurriedly ran away. Within moments, the only one left behind was the little monkey standing there in a daze. Monkey King, hurry up and escape. The monster in the mountain has appeared again. The big-faced monkey briefly appeared and shouted. When the little monkey turned around, it realized that the other monkeys had already hidden in a cave. From the big-faced monkey's words, it was obvious that the monster it was talking about was a frequent visitor, and that the cave in front of them was their only hiding place. After hearing this, the little monkey felt very confused. With its confidence inflated, it stood up and said without hesitation, "What kind of monster is it? Let me teach it a good lesson." Hearing the tone of the little monkey, Yi Zan, who was hiding in the dark, was very shocked. This little monkey's courage was really amazing. Yi Zan instantly swept the surroundings with his spiritual sense, and quickly located the monster, which was a humongous ape that had reached the middle stage of the heavenly realm. In a small place like this, the ape could be considered an overlord. Even though the little monkey was extremely talented, it definitely would not be able to defeat the ape at its current level. Because he did not want it to die for no reason, Yi Zan tried to persuade it, "King, this big monster is very powerful. At present, you can't defeat it. The best way to survive is to hide first." No, Yi Zan's dissuasion had the opposite effect. The little furry monkey seemed even more fired up to teach the ape a lesson. As soon as it finished speaking, the little monkey ran over toward the ape, roaring, "Damn it! Where exactly are you from? How dare you behave so impudently in my territory?" When the ape saw that it was a little monkey that was shouting at it, it snorted, and even spat at the little monkey. Pa! Seeing this, Yi Zan almost laughed out loud. It was an attack of a different sort. The little monkey almost drowned in a mouthful of saliva. As a result, it became furious. Seeing the little furry monkey's angry expression, the corners of the ape's mouth curled up slightly into a confused smile. It said indifferently, "Yo-ho. You're quite hot-tempered, but that temper is worthless if you can't back it up with strength." Damn it! The little monkey clenched its fist and punched the giant ape without hesitation. However, the ape did not move at all. It was as if the little monkey's punch was just scratching his itch. The little furry monkey was not stupid. It instantly understood the huge gap between the two of them. "Hee hee, you little furball, now it's my turn to hit you. Don't worry, I won't use too much strength." The corner of the giant ape's mouth curled up into a slight smile, which scared the little monkey. Then, it was sent flying 100 meters by a slap. 816 Little Monkey. After the little furry monkey was smashed into the distance, it immediately got up. However, when it saw the giant ape coming toward it again, it decided that escaping was the best course of action. Arliss reading Omicron N Beta OX Nouvelle. So almost instantly, it disappeared without a trace. FCK. How did it move so quickly? The giant ape was shocked. This little monkey moved faster than it could. What exactly was this monkey? Not long after, the little monkey had returned to the cave entrance where the rest of the monkeys were hiding. It looked afraid. After experiencing this setback, the little furry monkey's confidence had taken a hit. Seeing this, Yi Zan decided that this was the best time to act. The big-faced monkey opened his mouth and said, "Monkey King, there's no need to take this to heart. That monster has been cultivating for some time under the guidance of an immortal, which is why it is so powerful. In our area, that big ape is basically an existence that no one can defeat. It's not a shameful thing for you to be defeated by him." Immortal. After hearing this word, the little monkey's heart trembled slightly. He wished he could become stronger so that he could have the strength to protect itself and those around it. Where do we find immortals? I want to go over and learn some skills from them, the little monkey asked anxiously. After hearing this, Yi Zan stood up calmly and said with a serious expression, "King, I know of a place called the 7-Star Cave Abode. There is an immortal cultivating in this cave abode, and his name is Taoist Ling. You go to this place to become his disciple." The little furry monkey became extremely excited. 7-Star Cave Abode, Taoist Ling. It muttered to itself, believing that Taoist Ling was very noble and powerful. The little monkey immediately agreed and said, "All right, then I'll go to the 7-Star Cave Abode. All of you stay here and wait for me. When I come back, I will definitely not let any monsters suppress us." Haha, how interesting. I hope this monkey will not disappoint me. He left and went straight to the East Sea. After finding a suitable place, Yi Zan casually released a few streams of spiritual energy to build an isolated island, and then the 7-Star Cave Abode. After everything was done, he waited patiently. The arrival of the little furry monkey was imminent. As an added note, Yi Zan also set up many obstacles along the way to the 7-Star Cave Abode to test whether this little monkey's will was firm or not. Since he knew that the little monkey would not arrive so soon, Yi Zan took some time to return to the Great Wilderness Divine Sect. The assessment for new disciples had already begun. At this time, the various sect masters had already chosen their favorite candidates, but Yi Zan was different in this aspect. After all, there was still a little monkey waiting for him in the East Sea, so he was not bothered about the disciple recruitment or assessments. I don't know if you guys know about this, but yesterday, there was an explosion that shook the entire Sky Mountain. I don't know what happened, but a 7-colored light suddenly flew towards the East Sea. In the main hall, many people discussed the incident yesterday. After hearing this matter, Gao Shun added, "That's right. Many people witnessed the scene. It seems that the 7-colored light was released by a monkey. People say that this is a sign of good luck. After all, this monkey was born from a worldly phenomenon. It seems that our East continent will begin to develop quickly after this. I don't know if this is true, though." Everyone was curious about this matter. Yuelin was about to say something, but she suddenly noticed that Yi Zan was also maintaining his silence and even had a strange expression. Thus, she asked curiously, "Junior brother Yi, how much do you know about this monkey?" Yi Zan was at a loss as blood and sweat appeared on his forehead. "What are you guys talking about? Monkey? What monkey?" Hearing Yi Zan's answer, Yuelin was stunned and confused. Yi Zan did not say a word after that as he watched them discuss animatedly. He did not plan to let anyone know that he wanted to take the little furry monkey as his disciple, as Taoist Ling's disciple. Then, he would teach the little monkey some cultivation techniques. As for what would happen after that, Yi Zan would not interfere too much. He did not want to be implicated by this little monkey's antics. After watching them discuss for such a long time, Yi Zan pondered for a moment before making a decision. Since he was here today, it would be good to make an announcement. Yi Zan stood up, attracting everyone's attention. As the only sealed immortal realm expert in the East continent, his actions were under constant scrutiny. "Senior brother Ao." Hearing Yi Zan calling him, Ao Lei looked at Yi Zan with a puzzled expression and asked, "Junior brother Yi, what's the matter?" "Senior brother Ao, I have something to announce today." After hearing this, everyone instantly sat up straight. In the main hall, not only were the chiefs present, but also many elders, disciples, and some people who had qualified for the final assessment. Everyone pricked up their ears and listened. Seeing that all eyes were focused on him, Yizan turned around and said, Yu, come here. 817 New Chief. When everyone looked closely and saw a jade pendant hanging on Zhuge Yu's waist. This was an exclusive item that only the chief of Cloud Sky Peak could have. Arliss reading Omicron N Beta OX Nouvelle. So After seeing this, Aolei understood. Junior brother Yi, could it be that you want to? Before Aolei could finish, Yizan waved his hand to stop him. Everyone, I have been the chief of Cloud Sky Peak for dozens of years. Now that I have reached the sealed immortal realm, my situation and responsibilities mean that I am no longer suitable to lead Cloud Sky Peak. It is precisely because of this that I announce today that I will pass the position of Cloud Sky Peak sect leader to my eldest disciple, Zhuge Yu. From today onwards, Zhuge Yu is the 19th chief of Cloud Sky Peak. After hearing this, everyone was shocked. No one had expected that Yizan, who was still so young, would actually step down and pass his position to Zhuge Yu. Many geniuses present chose to join the Great Wilderness Divine Sect because of Yizan. However, he had already stepped down even before they officially joined. Yizan had expected this response, but in fact, he had no choice but to pass the position to Zhuge Yu. After all, he still had a lot of things to handle, and could not be tied down at Cloud Sky Peak. Moreover, the 8 continents were about to be united, and there was no way to predict what would happen in the future. There was also the strange realm, which further compounded the danger surrounding them. This was the reason that he made this decision. He said calmly, my eldest disciple has advanced to the middle stage of the heaven realm, so she is fully qualified for the position. From today onward, she will be in charge of Cloud Sky Peak. She can also take in disciples. Everyone, if you have confidence in yourself, you can choose to become Yutu's disciple, and I may also become your Grand Master. After hearing this, the group of people present was extremely excited. I didn't hear anything wrong just now, did I? Everyone was extremely happy at this moment. After all, Yizan was a sealed immortal realm expert, and unmatched in the East continent. Many of them had come to join the sect to see if they had the chance to join the Cloud Sky Peak. However, up till now, Cloud Sky Peak had yet to accept a single disciple. This current situation presented an opportunity. After Zhuge Yu became the chief of Cloud Sky Peak, she would be able to recruit disciples. Although Zhuge Yu was not extremely powerful like Yizan, the one standing behind her was Yizan. The sealed immortal realm was a level that people could only dream of but could not reach. If they could become Yizan's grand disciple, they would even be willing to become servants on Cloud Sky Peak. This was the truth. Junior brother Yu is still so young. Isn't it a little too hasty for you to let her become chief now? Gao Shun frowned slightly, feeling that this was somewhat inappropriate. Aolei did not mind. He knew that since Yizan had already made up his mind, he could not change it. Thus, he agreed to Yizan's request. He knew very well that since Yizan had already become a sealed immortal realm expert, it would be difficult for balanced discussions and interactions to happen among the chiefs and peaks. Therefore, it was best for Zhuge Yu to inherit his position. I've already made up my mind, so there's no need for you to continue persuading me, senior brother Gao, Yizan said calmly. Finally, he looked at his eldest disciple with a gratified expression. In Yizan's heart, Zhuge Yu also held an extremely important position. Even when he was at his most destitute, Zhuge Yu did not disdain him and still treated him as her teacher. Now that she had become stronger, she could support Cloud Sky Peak in his stead. This made Yizan very happy. However, Yu is really too young, and might not understand many things. Do you really think she can become a good teacher and lead her disciples well? Gao Shun asked with some uncertainty. He did not think that Zhuge Yu was incapable, but she was really too young. She was only 19 years old now, right? If she became chief at this age, would her ego become inflated? Noticing Gao Shun's suspicious gaze, the corners of Yizan's mouth curled up slightly. He looked at Gao Shun indifferently and said, Senior brother Gao, have you forgotten how old I was when I became chief? Hearing this, Gao Shun was left speechless. The people of the Cloud Sky Peak were all very strange, and could not be viewed from ordinary perspectives. Indeed, Yizan had been about the same age as Zhuge Yu when he became the chief of Cloud Sky Peak, but he still managed Cloud Sky Peak in an orderly manner. Even though his performance was not very dazzling at the beginning, it was only because he had been keeping a low profile. Ha ha. Seeing Gao Shun like that, Aolei could not help but smile and say, Junior brother Yi, don't you have any intention of recruiting disciples? Besides, you have to pass down your powerful techniques and divine powers. 818 Sword Elder. Up until now, Yi Zan had only taken in 3 disciples. Of the 3, only Zhu Yuyu had inherited Yi Zan's sword Dao. Feng Xian was talented in terms of alchemy, while Xiangyun was a body-refining cultivator. Arliss reading Omicron N Beta OX Nouvelle. So if Yi Zan no longer took in disciples, then would his legacy be wasted? Senior brother Ao, I didn't mention that I wouldn't continue teaching. Oh, after hearing this, everyone was stunned. What did that mean? That's true. Although Yi Zan won't continue to recruit disciples, he can continue to teach. Even though Yi Zan would not continue to take in disciples, Zhu Yuyu would. As Zhu Yuyu's disciple, one could enjoy the privilege of being taught by Yi Zan in his capacity as Grand Master. After all, Yi Zan was not one to leave his disciples in the lurch. Furthermore, now that he had handed over the reins of leadership to Zhu Yuyu, he would have more time to deal with other matters. Alright, this matter has been decided. Before anyone else could raise any objections, Yi Zan concluded the matter. Then, he turned around and looked at Zhu Yuyu. Yuyu, from now on, you will be in charge of Cloud Sky Peak. I have full confidence in your abilities. I also hope to see Cloud Sky Peak continue to grow and become stronger under your leadership. Hearing Yi Zan's words, Zhu Yuyu's eyes turned red. These words contained her teacher's expectations for her. She vowed not to let him down. Teacher, I will definitely do well, Zhu Yuyu said with a determined expression. Alright, you've already become a big girl. There's no need to cry anymore, Yi Zan teased her, causing her face to turn red. How could her teacher tease her in public like this? Moments later, the corners of Aolei's mouth curled up slightly. Although Yi Zan stepped down from his position as chief, Aolei would not let him slack off. Everyone, I have something to announce today. Oh. What's going on now? Everyone's gaze involuntarily turned towards Aolei, and Yi Zan had a bad feeling, especially after seeing Aolei's smile. From today onward, the position of the Sword Elder of our great wilderness divine sect will be occupied by the former chief of Cloud Sky Peak, Yi Zan. After hearing this news, everyone's jaws dropped, especially the disciples of the great wilderness divine sect. They all understood what the position of Sword Elder represented. Even the sect master's status was inferior to the Sword Elder's status. Only the top expert of the great wilderness divine sect would be qualified to take up this position. In the past 100 years, other than Chief Tianzan, this position had always been empty. No one else had been able to take up the responsibility. Now, a suitable successor had finally been identified. That makes sense. Sword Immortal Yi is definitely qualified to occupy this position. He's a sealed immortal realm expert, after all. If he's not qualified, then no one else would be. They all felt that this appointment was only natural. I'm in favor of this appointment, Gao Shun said loudly. He had been signaled to say something in order to avoid Yi Zan backing out. Yuelin covered her mouth and chuckled. She secretly gave Yi Zan a look and said with a smile, Senior brother Ao, I also agree. Ha ha ha, since you guys have already agreed, how can I, old Li, not agree? Li Dahai laughed heartily. He was also very impressed with Yi Zan. He had no qualms letting Yi Zan take up the position of Sword Elder. The other chiefs then all echoed their agreement in quick succession. After seeing this, Yi Zan smiled helplessly. You guys really won't let me go, huh? Since things had come to this, Yi Zan had no choice but to agree. Aolei laughed happily. He was getting on in years, so he might not be able to lead the sect for much longer. If the sect master followed suit and had Warufeng take up the position of sect master, then it would be reassuring if Yi Zan was still around to guide him and guard the sect. Aolei also firmly believed that Yi Zan would definitely not reject the appointment. After all, the latter was also a person who cared about the great wilderness divine sect. Yi Zan took a deep breath. He then briefly glanced at Warufeng beside Aolei and waved his hand. In the end, he agreed. After all, the Sword Elder did not need to manage the sect's day-to-day affairs. 819 Collision of Continents. The only time when the Sword Elder was called upon was when the sect was in danger. Arliss reading Omicron N Beta OX Nouvelle. So just like his teacher, Tianzan, who also once took up the position of Sword Elder, Yi Zan could be considered to have inherited his teacher's position. Would Zhu Yuyu also follow in his footsteps? He did not know, but he did have great expectations for his eldest disciple. Boom. In the main hall, while the people were still discussing when to hold the appointment ceremony for Zhu Yuyu, the sound of a huge explosion was heard. What's going on? Everyone rushed outside and looked up at the same time. They could see that there were cracks all over the sky, and it was releasing bursts of dazzling divine light. Yi Zan frowned when he saw this, muttering, "The golden age is about to arrive. There is already a continent that has collided with our east continent. In the future, the other continents will follow. Senior brother Ao, we have to start planning. I'm afraid that there might be another fierce battle." After hearing Yi Zan's words, everyone trembled. Another battle. Yi Zan then continued, "In the other continents, there are also different creatures and families. Once the 8 continents are reunited, a new continent will be formed. From now on, you will also be able to see many powerful creatures. Some of them are even born as Supreme Realm experts. The battle for the immortal path has already begun." Floating in the sky, Yi Zan looked around and discovered a huge azure dragon on the other side. This was a member of the dragon race. Perhaps a war between various races would soon commence. Yi Zan's words caused waves of panic and fear to sweep through the crowd. When the 8 continents were united, all kinds of wars would inevitably occur. After all, no one wanted to submit to another race or continent. Everyone would vie for power and supremacy, and every expert would want to prove themselves to be the strongest, as well as to temper themselves through combat. These wars would devastate the land, and most ordinary people, as well as the weaker cultivators, would suffer. Aolei took a deep breath. Then, he turned around and said to the members of the Great Wilderness Divine Sect, "Continue the assessment." After hearing Aolei's order, the various elders did not dare to delay and immediately began the assessment. Yi Zan remained where he was and looked at Zhu Yuyu. "Yuyu, what do you think? Among this group of prospective disciples, does anyone seem promising?" Zhu Yuyu shook her head. She had been paying close attention to them all this time, but none of the new disciples had caught her eye. It was precisely because of this that she had not taken in any disciples so far. Yi Zan smiled and said indifferently, "It's all right. Back then, I didn't accept any disciples during the first round of recruitment either. Don't be anxious. Our Cloud Sky Peak's recruitment criteria for disciples is different from other peaks. If someone is truly fated, they will naturally join Cloud Sky Peak. In any case, if you find someone suitable, you can just accept him as your disciple. There's no need to ask for my permission." After hearing this, Zhu Yuyu smiled brightly, but mischievously. "Teacher, I haven't even fully grasped your teachings yet, so I don't really want to recruit disciples. After all, I still want to stay by teacher's side and learn more." Upon hearing this, Yi Zan felt a little guilty. Her family had all died because of the berserk beasts. After he had taken her in as a disciple, he had always protected her, and it seemed that she had become quite dependent on him. Perhaps he had rushed things. She was just a little girl. It was indeed inappropriate and too early for him to make her become a teacher. It wasn't that he did not think highly of Zhu Yuyu's abilities, but rather that he was concerned for her from a psychological standpoint. Yi Zan smiled and gently rubbed Zhu Yuyu's head. All right. If you still don't want to recruit disciples, then there's no need to push the matter. No matter what, I will always be here, so take your time to adapt." Yi Zan said these words very sincerely. There was not much he could do for his disciples. He just hoped that, under his protection, they would grow up healthily and happily. Honestly, Cloud Sky Peak becoming stronger and more developed was just a side objective. If Yi Zan really valued that, he would have recruited a large number of disciples. That being said, compared to the previous chiefs of Cloud Sky Peak, Yi Zan was indeed a role model. They had only accepted 1 disciple each, but Yi Zan had accepted 3. Clearly, he was the more hardworking one. In any case, the truly important thing was ensuring that his legacy was inherited. After hearing Yi Zan's words, Zhu Yuyu smiled happily. 820 arrival. Zhu Yuyu actually did not want to be the chief of Cloud Sky Peak. What she wanted most was to be Yi Zan's faithful disciple. It was enough if she could stay by her teacher's side. Arlise reading Omicron N Beta OX Nouvelle. So Thanks teacher. You're always very good to me. Zhu Yuyu smiled delightedly. Her usual cold expression seemed to have disappeared at this moment. All right. Even though you won't accept disciples, you still have to go through the process. Go over first and join the others. After all, you're already the chief of Cloud Sky Peak, Yi Zan reminded her. She was already the chief. Since everyone had already accepted her appointment, it was somewhat unreasonable for her to stay here and chat. Okay, teacher, I'll be leaving first. As soon as she finished speaking, Zhu Yuyu hurried toward the cloud sky peak, not daring to delay for even a moment. After watching Zhu Yuyu leave, Yi Zan looked around and disappeared with a swoosh. Now that one continent had collided with the East continent, the other continents would soon collide with each other. Yi Zan actually did not know how the situation would develop in the future. Moreover, he had already reached the sealed immortal realm. If he continued to cultivate, the next step would be the eternal realm. Given the situation in the East continent, it was impossible for Yi Zan to step into the eternal realm. After all, the laws of the world in the East continent were incomplete. No one could cultivate to this level. However, once the 8 continents had been unified, the laws of the world would become complete once again, and the mighty experts left behind from ancient times would probably gradually appear. An unprecedented battle would soon take place. As for which race would emerge victorious, no one knew. After leaving the Great Wilderness Divine Sect, Yi Zan went straight to the East Sea to await the arrival of the little monkey. There was a great connection between this little monkey and Yi Zan. If it passed through the many difficulties Yi Zan had prepared and made it to the 7-star cave abode, it meant that the little monkey might not be the harbinger of a disaster. At this moment, on the vast East Sea, a little monkey was rowing a small boat, constantly moving forward and searching. Wave after wave crashed onto the little boat. There were also many ferocious beasts in the sea, and they would occasionally jump out to ambush the little monkey. The little furry monkey looked very miserable at this moment. However, it still gritted its teeth and persevered, not giving up hope. Before it set off, it had already sworn an oath that he would learn to be powerful and come back to protect its companions. Under the encouragement of all of the other little monkeys, it only brought the necessities before leaving. It encountered many difficulties on the way and even ended up building a small boat to search the sea. Its hard work paid off. After a long time, it finally saw the island it had been searching for. Surrounded by the sea, there was a mountain peak on the island that released waves of warm aura, giving those who saw it the feeling that an immortal resided here. It was very shocking. I finally found the place. The 7-star cave abode must be on this island. The moment it discovered the island, the little monkey jumped up in joy, and promptly fell into the sea. Fortunately, it reached quickly enough to grab the side of the small wooden boat, and thus escaped the fate of being drifting away. At this moment, inside the 7-star cave abode, Yi Zan had already transformed into an old man in a Taoist robe with a head full of white hair, quietly waiting for the arrival of the little monkey. After a while, the little monkey, whose fur was all wet, dragged its wooden boat on the shore and then skipped toward the 7-star cave abode. It climbed up the mountain peak and arrived in front of the cave abode. However, when it saw the majestic words at the entrance of the cave, it was dumbfounded. What are these characters? Indeed, this little furry monkey did not know how to read either. It was exactly the same as Shang Yun. Once Yi Zan realized this problem, he felt instant regret. Did he have to go through the same thing again? Just Shang Yun alone was enough to make people worry. Now, there was this little monkey. What troubles would it cause him in the future? Who are you? After hearing this voice, the little monkey was shocked. It was as if this voice was echoing in its heart. Therefore, it concluded without hesitation that the person in the cave must be an expert. Who dares to disturb my cultivation? Hearing this, the little monkey was scared silly and immediately knelt down and said in a panic, Taoist, I heard that in this 7-star cave abode, there is an expert who lives in seclusion to cultivate. That's why I crossed the mountains and seas, traveled hundreds of thousands of miles, and experienced many difficulties to come here. I want to learn a cultivation technique. I hope you can take me as your disciple and teach me your cultivation technique. Is that so? Hearing this, the little monkey raised its head to take a look, and realized that an old man had suddenly appeared in front of it. Little monkey, you've got guts. The road here is filled with all kinds of dangers. If you're not careful, you'll lose your life. Why did you lie to me? Yi Zan's words frightened the little monkey so much that its entire body trembled as it spoke in a trembling voice, I would never lie to you. If there is even the slightest bit of falsehood in my words, I will let you punish me. Seeing his frightened appearance, Yi Zan chuckled inwardly. This little monkey had an impatient personality, so he had to make him fear him. Otherwise, he would not be able to teach him in the future. All right, seeing that you want to learn, I'll ask you properly first. After saying this, Yi Zan's gaze was fixed on the little furry monkey, causing its entire body to feel uneasy. Taoist, please ask. Why do you want to learn from me? Hearing this, the little furry monkey was stunned. After a moment, it replied, I was originally a monkey king, but there was a big monster in my territory that would come from time to cause trouble, and also killed many monkeys. It's precisely because of this that I want to learn a cultivation technique so that I can protect my fellow monkeys well in the future. The little furry monkey said these words with a sincere expression, which made Yizan a little happy.